that exclusive games from our Microsoft studios are what originally turned so many of us into Xbox fans. My team and I take our commitment to you seriously.
Imagine, if you will, that you've been working on a new sci-fi MMORPG with Titanfall-like movement. Things are starting to come together after a long pre-production period, but it's okay because Phil Spencer, Microsoft Gaming CEO, loves your game. He loves it so much that he reportedly couldn't stop playing it and needed Xbox's Matt Booty to tear the controller away from him. Microsoft executives didn't just like the game, they were, as sources told Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, quote, blown away by it, unquote. Not in development hell either, going places, good times. Now imagine that those leadership figures approach you and your team to tell you that your project, which you've poured years of your life into, has been canceled. Actually, don't, because what happened, at least allegedly of course, is that studio leaders locked your team out of their Slack accounts while telling them that the same project has been canceled. Oh, and hours later, you don't even know if you're still employed. You could also try imagining a similarly aggravating situation at Halo Studios, formerly 343 Industries. After working for years to help turn around what one developer called a, quote, dumpster fire of a live service, end quote, you're fired for the sake of, quote, agility and effectiveness, end quote. That too has a memo from Spencer touts that the company's, quote, platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger, end quote. At the same time, Microsoft continues to invest more into AI, to the extent that one anonymous developer told Engadget, quote, they're trying their damnedest to replace as many jobs as they can with AI agents, end quote. Perhaps it's better to imagine life at Turn 10 Studios. Truth be told, you've had a rough year and a half. Forza Motorsport, your long-awaited reboot, is finally available, and fans hate it. Thus begins the slow process of fixing everything. The progression, the online play, the CARPG mechanics your team so proudly displayed, and of course, the numerous bugs. Months of new cars, tracks, events, and features later, it's incomparable to past titles, but things are steadily improving. Then you're told that 50% of your studio is gone, and that the Forza Motorsport franchise is essentially dead. That last point is still somewhat contentious as it comes from a former Turn 10 Studios employee who left in 2016 and may or may not still have connections. Regardless, based on the number of departures, it seemed that those lucky enough to keep their jobs are relegated to mere support, for now of course. Following Microsoft's mass layoffs, many more stories have begun to emerge about the studios affected. Romero Games, established by John and Brenda Romero, has shut down. Xbox didn't acquire it, but rather provided funding for the studio to develop a new AAA sci-fi first-person shooter. That's since disappeared, according to an employee on LinkedIn, resulting in the game's cancellation. And this isn't a small operation, over 100 employees are affected here. Rumors are also about trouble around Kojima Productions' OD. The project is very much alive, but it was allegedly seeking a new publisher following Microsoft's layoffs. According to Jez Corden of Windows Central, who spoke to sources, that currently isn't the case. Quote, currently, end quote, is the key word, since Everwild was cancelled, despite Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer touting giving, quote, those teams time in what they're doing, end quote. Published by Xbox Game Studios, OD is a horror title developed on Unreal Engine 5, which leverages the former's cloud gaming tech, with actor/director Jordan Peele involved in writing the narrative. Last year, Kojima said it's a game, quote, like no other, end quote, while also admitting it presented, quote, a new challenge for me, end quote. Coming back to that sci-fi shooter by the studio behind the Elder Scrolls Online, ZeniMax Online Studios, was in seemingly good shape. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer even enjoyed an early build of the game from March. According to one of Schreier's sources, Spencer enjoyed the game, codenamed Blackbird, so much that Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty had to physically pull the controller away from him. Since this is from a relatively recent build from March, the fact that the plug was pulled on this game came as a shock to quite a few developers. Quote, but Blackbird's cancellation was particularly shocking because it had blown away executives at Xbox just a few months ago, end quote, said Schreier's source. Quote, during the demonstration in March, Spencer was enjoying the game so much that Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, had to pull the controller away so they could keep the meeting going, according to two people who were in the room, end quote. While not too many details about what Blackbird was going to be have been revealed, reports have indicated that it was going to be a co-op loot-based shooter. Then, there's the story about last year's demo for Perfect Dark reportedly being fake. It led to a bit of back and forth before former senior-level designer Adam McDonald weighed in to reveal that the demo was in-engine, and that, quote, it worked best if you played it the way the person playing in the video plays it, but it still worked even if you didn't hit the marks perfectly, end quote. While acknowledging the existence of, quote, some fake stuff, end quote, McDonald said that that the quote, real gameplay systems shown off worked just enough to look good in the video, end quote. The parkour and hacking/deception systems were real, even the combat was quote, end quote, real if played in the exact same way. What could have been truly been with the final product though? Well, we'll never know for sure, even as Alex Wilton Reagan, Joanna Dark's voice actor, asked fans to quote, speak up if you want to see Perfect Dark survive, end quote. Quite frankly, I approve of more people shouting at Microsoft for its incompetence, or just in general, really. As overwhelming as the number of stories has been, there also haven't been enough. What's going on with Compulsion Games? We know that there were layoffs at Undead Labs, but to what extent is a mystery, and considering State of Decay 3 had its share of development troubles over the years, there's reasonable concern over what happens next. Where's Contraband, the co-op title that Xbox Game Studios teamed up with Avalanche Studios to work on? How will the cancellation of Perfect Dark affect Crystal Dynamics, which was working on it alongside the initiative? Amid all of this, one thing is for sure, Phil Spencer isn't retiring anytime soon. Yes, there was actually a rumor that he would be retiring as Microsoft Gaming CEO, but almost as swiftly as it gained traction, the company was quick to clarify to The Verge that he is, in fact, staying. To me, it feels like Xbox is a creature perpetually dreaming of the Xbox One as an all-in-one living room console centered on Kinect to reach a wider audience, the true endgame of the Xbox 360's Kinect success. Dreaming of owning all of these studios and just leaving them to their devices to make great games without any oversight of all. Dreaming of every platform being an Xbox and telling as many people as possible, as much as possible, in the hopes that they eventually believe it. Yet, try as it might, it can't control the contradictions that keep popping up and interrupting its obliviously peaceful slumber. Of players vehemently rejecting a Kinect-centric console and the executives who drone on about crossover media and TV shows. Of studios failing to meet deadlines, lacking the resources to address issues, or even just hoping that their projects are canceled before launch because their leaders lack the first clue on what to do. And my favorite, telling everyone that, quote, this is an Xbox, end quote, while not even mentioning the PS5, where their titles are actually performing well sales-wise. Then there's the laying off of all these employees and shuttering projects, then reportedly accepting ideas for the future. It happened with Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin, who allegedly pitched Hi-Fi Rush 2 and a new Dishonored, respectively. And Microsoft decided it just made more sense to shut them down, which is crazy. Then Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty turned around shortly after and allegedly told remaining employees that the company needed, quote, smaller games that give us prestige and awards, end quote. More recently, VGC's Andy Robinson heard about reported pitches for a new Banjo-Kazooie with names like Toys for Bob and Moon Studios popping up. Time is a flat circle, wearing one of Spencer's leather jackets and hyping up how the next year, for sure guys, will definitely be great for Xbox. And yeah, here's hoping. The bloom isn't so much off the rose for Microsoft's gaming division so much as the rose is now mulch. If there was hope about Xbox turning its fortunes around amid declining hardware revenue and gaming revenue only propped up by Activision really, or at the very least, cautious optimism in its transition to a multi-platform publisher, maybe even the faintest glimmer that the next generation of Xbox could possibly reignite the brand, it's dead. Then again, Microsoft as a whole doesn't seem to think in those terms. It seemingly functions to follow the money, no matter what trends it must plunge into or how much must be butchered, burned, or buried in the process. The only constant in the company is change, changing what it will chase next, inevitably sacrificing the very people who carried it so far, all in the name of revenue. Unfortunately, if there's any other constant, it's that no matter how much one dreams, eventually you just need to wake up. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.